Hi guys, I am here with your next art lesson. So this lesson is a continuation from last week. Last week we made the cardboard Collagraph printing plate, and I said this week I was going to show you two different ways to print those. This lesson is also going to be shown live. I will be doing it live on Zoom on Thursday at 10 o'clock. So if you want to join us then, you are more than welcome to. But if you have something going on at that time, you can just watch this video and do it when you have a chance. So you're going to need two different pieces of paper. You're going to need crayons, markers, a piece of aluminum foil, and then like a wet paper towel. And I'm going to show you two different ways to print the Collagraph. So just as a reminder, a Collagraph is when you take materials, so ours is cardboard, and you glue them to a surface and make a textured or raised surface, and then you print it. It's a printmaking technique. So there's a few different things you can do with this. I'm going to show you two today. You can also, the one I'm not showing you, is put paint on this and print it that way. We are going to do a crayon rubbing, and then I'm going to show you how to do a foil print. So those are the two ways that we are going to print our plate today. So gather up the materials and then we can get started. Sorry, just adjusting here. Okay. So here is our Collagraph printing plate. I did a Halloween theme. I did a jack-o'-lantern, some bats, a moon, some gravestones. You did yours however you wanted. I know some people were doing graveyards, Frankenstein, that kind of stuff. So whatever you want to do. So the first method I'm going to show you is a crayon rubbing. You've probably done crayon rubbings before. It's just where you put a piece of paper over the surface, take a crayon and rub it over the top. So that's the first way I'm going to show you. So you're going to get a white piece of paper, set it on top of your Collagraph, and you're going to want to hold it with one hand while you use the crayon with the other. I'm going to show you a different way where you can use multiple colors to do the crayon rubbing. So I'm going to be using black, orange, and purple, which are Halloween colors to me. I think they remind me of Halloween. So I'll start with the orange. So you want to make sure, the key is to make sure this stays put. So if it's easier, a trick that I do sometimes is I take some tape and just tape it down to the paper. That way the paper doesn't slide on you as much. And then you're going to still hold it. The crayon has to have the paper off because we're actually using the side of the crayon, not the end. So we're not going to hold it like this. We're going to set it flat and we're going to push back and forth. So you're going to hold it and then push back and forth, and you will start to see your design come through. And then what I do to do this side is I turn it. That way I can still use my right hand, which is the hand I write with. So now my whole design is through. So I did it in orange, but to add a little fun effect, you can use more than one color. So now I'm going to go back over with purple. And sometimes you get other parts of the design to show through a little bit better when you use another color. So now you can see the orange and the purple together. And then I'm also going to go back over with black, but I'm only going to do black in certain areas. So I'm going to do black down here on the grass, under the pumpkin. I'm going to do black over my bats. And if you press lightly, it kind of fades down. And I'm going to do black over the moon. If you wanted to do black, like you can do it around the eyes. So your eyes and nose and mouth stand out a little bit more. So then the other thing you can do Now that you have most of it done is take the cardboard part off. Set that aside for a second. Now you can come back in with your crayons and color regular and add more colors to it if you want. So I can go back in and color the moon yellow if I wanted to. The other detail I wanted to do was take my crayon, and these are supposed to be gravestones. So I was gonna write on those, add those details in. So they looked like a gravestone. And maybe outline those a little bit. Shade in the edges. So you can come back in with your crayon after you get the basic rubbing done and add some details if you wanted to. I could, if I wanted it to look like mine was glowing, I could add some yellow in the mouth around the teeth and in the eyes to make it look like my pumpkin was glowing. If I wanted to bring in other colors, I could add brown to the stem, maybe some green down here at the bottom for grass. However you wanted, and you don't have to add these details that I'm doing with the crayon afterwards. You could just leave it as a regular crayon rubbing if you wanted to. That's fine. But I just wanted to show you how you could add some details in there. So this is the crayon rubbing of our Collagraph. So that's one type of printing. And this type is nice because you can do this as many times as you want with different colors, and just repeat it over and over again if you wanted to. So that's the crayon rubbing version. Now I'm going to show you how to do a foil print. So for that, you're going to need your cardboard printing plate again, your Collagraph, and then you're also going to need a piece of aluminum foil. And what you're going to do is put the foil down, put this upside down. So this is the back. And for this you might want a little tape. You don't need it necessarily, but I find that it helps hold the foil in place. So I would fold the ends over, just use a little tape. If you don't have tape, that's okay. You can just fold it over and it should stay. Not a big deal. And then what you need to do is on the front, now that you got it foiled, so this is now our front, you want to rub with your hands and you will start to see the design come through, which is what we want. You want to be able to see all those raised surfaces. So I want to be able to see my pumpkin, my gravestones, my grass, the moon. You just want to, rub, but you don't want to rub too hard so you end up with a hole in your foil. So I wouldn't suggest using anything to rub it with. Like you don't want to use a marker, you don't want to use a pencil. You just want to use your finger and press, just so you can see the outline of stuff. Okay, now what you're going to do is take some markers, and it needs to be washable markers. So I will show you what I mean. So you want washable markers, like Crayola markers. You don't want to do this with Sharpie, it won't work. So what you're going to do is start coloring parts of your design. So I'm going to color my bats in. I'm going to color my moon. I'm going to color the eyes of the pumpkin yellow to make it look like it's glowing. Wherever you color with marker is going to print. So if you don't color anything or color an area, it won't show up on your final piece. Because what we're going to do is color and then wet a piece of paper and put that on top. And the marker will stick to the wet paper and you will have a print of your plate. So that's why if there's no marker there, it's not going to transfer. You won't see anything. So if you want to see parts of your plate, you want to make sure that you color it. You don't have to worry about working super fast. If it dries on here, if the marker dries on here, it's okay. The water will kind of help to reactivate it. So I'm just doing the outline of the gravestone. Now remember, if you have writing on here, the writing will be backwards because we are taking a print of this. So if you're clever, you can write it backwards. If you write it regular, it's going to show up backwards on your print. I'm going to do the teeth black. My pumpkin, the lines of my pumpkin, I'll do black. And you just keep coloring until you got everything colored that you want. I definitely want my pumpkin to show up, so I'm going to do that orange. I definitely want to see that. This is another printing method that you could do over and over and over again. You'll probably have to re-color the foil, but you could print it again. You could do it again. Printmaking is a lot of trial and error. Sometimes you get really good prints on your first time, and sometimes it doesn't come out so great. So you just got to try again. And sometimes when you don't think it's going to come out great, it comes out awesome. Okay. And then I'm just going to do a little blue in the background, just so the background's not really plain. Because if I leave it, then nothing will show. I'm just going to go real quick in the background. So if you have a really detailed picture, this part might take a little longer, or you might choose to only color certain things and leave some things blank. Like maybe if I didn't have a ton of time, I wouldn't color the background, the sky, I would just leave that plain. Okay, so I got everything colored. So now you're going to take your other piece of paper, and you want to take a wet paper towel, and you want to get your paper really, really, really wet. You can use a paintbrush in water if you want to, but I find that this works pretty decently too, especially because you can, okay, get the whole thing really wet, and then this is the part you got to work quick. Now you're going to flip this over, stick it down, and rub with your hands really, really, really hard to get that marker to transfer. And like I said, printmaking can be tricky, so if you do this and you flip it over and it doesn't come out exactly like you like, don't worry about it. That happens a lot. It just means that the next time you got to try something different. And if you're pressing, you can kind of start to see some of the marker come through, so you know where it's sticking and where it's not. So I will pull mine off and see how it looks. Haha, there we go. And you should get something that looks like that. So it can look really, really cool. It kind of takes on a watercolor effect. And like I said, if you want to do it again, you can, but since all the marker is gone, you're going to have to color it again. But you can hold on to your Collagraph plate and print something else. So I hope you guys had fun, learned something about printmaking. Those are two different ways to print a Collagraph plate, crayon rubbing and the tinfoil print. And like I said, I'll be doing this lesson live on Zoom at 10 o'clock on Thursday. So if you'd like to join us and see it happen again, you are more than welcome to, or you can just watch this video. I hope you guys had fun. See you next week.